Good morning. Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the COVID-19 Solutions Consortium series. Thank you for your time and for taking it out of your morning to join us. I'm your host, Antonius Northern, the Inclusion Project Manager for the City of South Bend's Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We've created this webinar as a vehicle to address the challenges of COVID-19 and to assist the small business and MBEs amid the corona crisis. Today, we will be discussing connecting to local funding. First of all, I'd like to introduce our co-host, Larry King, who is also the Contract Compliance Administrator for the City of South Bend's Office of Diversity and Inclusion as well. That's
Good
Larry
morning.
up there at the top. Yep. In addition, I also have Quentin Phillips from Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, who's a business services representative. And I also have Tracy Williams from Brightpoint, a regional CDFI here in our area. Today, gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about connecting to local funding. But prior to that, I wanted to kind of share with you guys something that had been on my heart for a while and something that I had been thinking about for a while. So just want to kind of start this off with a brief conversation. I have been thinking about the access to credit, particularly for minority and women-owned businesses who haven't had experience with credit in the past. I can't help but think of the salon owners and the small business owners that are no longer in business due to this coronavirus and the reduction in traffic inside of their businesses. And ultimately, I think that also is sponsored by fear. Fear of a history of not knowing how finance can benefit their businesses, not understanding the mechanics of finance, and ultimately slowing down their opportunity to grow their businesses. And so what I wanted to talk with you all about is how we can kind of pull back the veil, share a little bit about how finance works and what does it mean to connect with the bank in order to get lending and financing. The first thing that kind of comes to mind is a cash flow projection for a business, knowing how much money they're going to bring in on a monthly basis and how important that is to a bank or a business, particularly to a financial institution who's going to be doing the lending. A lot of our minority business owners and a lot of our inexperienced business owners with or folks who haven't had as much experience with finance often think that their idea, right, the profitability of their idea is the thing that they need to pitch. Mm-hmm. Particularly Quentin with Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. Can you tell us about how important it is to share your financial stability first, and then talk about the profitability of your new idea?
Well, greetings to everybody. Antonius and City of South Bend. Larry, thanks for having me. Really want to answer your question. A lot of what most business owners need to understand is it comes down to that one piece of the cash flow. If you think, let's think on a basic term. If you, Antonius, you loan me $20, you want to ensure that you're going to get that $20 back. Yes. Now, we're not charging interest or anything in there. There's no document, there's no contract or anything, but based on the word of mouth, you are expecting me to pay that $20 back. Well, what would in the first place allow you to lend me that $20 is my credibility. So when we look at a business or a bank or financial institution, is that credibility of has the business seen growth? What do your financial statements look like? Have you had any hard times during a certain period of the year? And we take a look at that full financial history just to see what the business is doing. What does the future look like for the business? A lot of times we'll do what's called a personal financial statement, where you fill out your personal finances, debts, assets, liabilities, put that all on paper, and then we look at it and we say, okay, right now you either have a surplus or a deficit, and we need to get some of that debt out of the way to move you forward. What are you bringing to the table as the business? And really, we want to know that you, like you said, we can pay that loan back. So in that cash flow portion of it, we just want to see what the business is doing, how it's thriving. When you look at the lending piece, let's build the relationship. So if me and you, you're the business owner and I'm the lender, let's build this relationship and we can work on a plan to get you to that place of understanding. What does this mean for me as the borrower? What does it look like for me to pay this back if I take on another employer? another employee, excuse me. What does this look like if I buy more equipment? Does this throw off my balance sheet? So we just want to make sure sit down with you and talk with you through those things. And it's really on both parts, the lender and the borrower, to have that open dialogue and transparency so that I understand your business and your goals, your plans, your aspirations and dreams. And you can trust me as a lender to give you the right information, explain it to you to where you have a good, comfortable feeling leaving and signing that document for us to move forward together.
I think another aspect of this, and I know that Tracy, you guys being a CDFI and working with smaller businesses who might have a great idea. They might even have some personal resources. But sometimes I imagine you have to talk people off of the edge, right? Like I'm going to sink $20,000. You know, I just got this lump sum of money, right? And I'm ready to activate on whatever that new project is. Can you talk about some of the benefits of lending or utilizing financing versus kind of just using the fullness of your personal resources in order to finance a business operation, and just, you know, why that's smart? Hit your mute button real quick, Larry. Tracy.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we can now.
Good morning. I'll first start by saying I'm glad to be on the call. There's so many different Zoom calls going around, and this one is definitely helpful. It's a great platform offering good information. To your question, well, Quentin kind of touched on it a little bit. There is a big difference between being profitable and being cash flow positive. And it's really to bridge the gap between the two. Using loans or leverage money is definitely a viable option. I say that because if you become profitable, let's say you have a good idea and you kind of see it get off the ground and it brings in some money, well, we want to see you hold on to that. Let's put that in a cash reserve. Let's look at different ways that you will personally leverage that money, and then let's make the business begin to cash flow at a positive rate. And using loans is a good way, especially if it's the right loan product for your company. Two quick examples of how that can happen is you would take the loan funds and you would be able to add a new line, a new product line. But then also, let's not forget about bringing on board top talent, because when we hire someone, they're also going to generate money. They're going to build the brand, and they're going to really help the business generate profits for years to come.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things. And then in addition to that, there's a lot of sense in knowing kind of what your monthly loan payment is going to be in comparison to what you might need to contribute if you were to kind of do it all in one lump sum. And like you were saying, right, like if you're doing talent acquisition or if you're doing a new equipment purchase of some sort, like you want to have funds in that reserve in order to make those capital investments so that you can really start to expand and grow your business. And I think that, you know, a lot of folks see the relationship between finance as a dynamic that doesn't allow for folks to have full ownership of their business. But in all reality, it almost, you know, ensures a greater sense of ownership inside of your business, because now you know exactly what your business has in the way of assets. You also know what your monthly liabilities are, and you have a projection that reaches out much further into the future. I also wanted to chat with you gentlemen about, well, I should say in light of COVID-19. During this COVID crisis, there has been a number of different responses, right? There have been protective measures that have been put in place in order to ensure everyone's safe through things like, you know, personal protection, you know, making sure that folks have masks, have access to those masks. But then also Hey, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Dawn, how are you? Hey, Dawn, I'm gonna mute you. I have Tracy and Quentin in Orlando. Make sure that you listen in though, because these guys are really explaining something great about finance and connecting the local funding here in South Bend. So I'm gonna mute you, but please stay on the line.
All
right. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, the COVID-19 has really created a large amount of opportunity for businesses. And can you guys kind of talk about some of the things that have changed since COVID-19, is particularly around finance? We'll get into the real nuts and bolts of PPP and lending products, but just has the landscape changed a lot? And Quentin, if you want to jump in there first, that's great.
Yeah, it has changed a lot. I mean, when you think about just how you're gonna function in your business, that's changed a lot. And I think a lot of people, I've been talking to many, different webinars and platforms like this about the steps to get back into your business, this new business plan, this new business projection. What does this look like now that COVID-19 has changed my business scope? So at this point, I mean, one program that, I like to highlight that I know Notre Dame Federal Credit Union is working with is that PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, which is a SBA program that they've put together to help protect payroll as well as some other additional expenses. And some of those expenses are very specific of what you can use those funds for. But this is just another loan that has been granted by the government that banks and institutions can offer to business owners. And the majority of the funds are used to help protect your payroll, keep money in people's pockets, keep their families whole, and keep the economy going. So we've been working on that for about, I would say, almost 3 months now. And so we'll get into some details on that in a little bit though. But that's one we've been working with.
It's one of those like insights that I think the government learned, and I think the rest of the business community learned, is when we didn't have access to financing in, I think it was 2010, we saw a lot of large scale businesses who struggled because they were used to being able to finance their payroll expenses, right? And so kind of having this new suite of resources available to almost all businesses in order to make sure that they're strong and functioning has been, it's been key. I also want to kind of just pull Tracy in on this topic as well. Tracy, there's been an additional kind of focus on small business that probably hasn't been there before. Have you seen that kind of increase opportunity for small businesses that have access to finance?
Absolutely. I can speak for myself, and I think everyone on the call in saying that I have not heard or used the words unprecedented as many times as we have right now. And things are changing. The term business as usual will never be the same. Our economy is different, and we're coping with it. We're working together, but at the same time, we're also looking for the opportunities forward. Okay. And that right there is a great opportunity for small businesses, because whether good or bad, small businesses have always been the economic engine for this country.
Yeah, they say that small business, or at least I know this was an Obama fact, so it may be a bit dated, but they were saying that almost 42% of employees are employed by a small business of 100 employees or less. So that's a substantial amount of the population that's being employed by these small businesses, and making sure that these guys are functioning in an optimized capacity is super important. Hey, Larry, you want to jump in with this next one? Go right ahead, man.
Yeah, Tracy. So as a small business and CDFIs, so do you see an increase, with Brightpoint, with the business there in Fort Wayne? Have you expanded, or do you see an increase of small business partnerships, and has the need been increased in your area or statewide? What is your perception on that?
Absolutely. The answer is yes to each of the questions. We actually serve a 13-county region in Northeast Indiana. All right. And for Brightpoint in the past, we would give more loans to Allen County. And given the COVID-19 activity, we're finally starting to see activity from the surrounding donut counties,
Okay.
which is a benefit because now they know that we're present. For example, right now in South Bend, we've always been here, but now we actually have a platform to make a difference now.
Yes.
So that's one way. And the second thing I would say is we've created a partnership with Sci-Fi
Okay.
in Indianapolis.
I
So
know those guys.
you're just seeing synergy happen throughout the state because the primary focus is to fill the gap and just kind of be a resource.
Good to see that you're expanding your business. And I noticed you on one of our breakout sessions, and you provided some great information when the city hosted the PPP program for lenders and everything. You did a great job. Quentin, moving back to you, and you briefly described the PPP program explanation for our small businesses. But there's a lot of fear and, how to get started, how to do the paperwork, how to do the contract. So could you provide some more information about exactly what is the PPP programming and the application process, right? Can we go through that process again, please?
Or if you can, just touch on what the PPP program is,
Yes.
and then we'll learn a little bit more about your application process in a second.
Yeah, not a problem. I mean, the PPP program, like I said, it came out shortly after we went through shutdown with the government, and really through SBA. If you're not familiar with SBA or Small Business Administration, a lot of loans that they offer through credit unions and banks, it takes away that factor of risk. Well, it minimizes. I don't want to say it takes away, but it minimizes that factor of risk on the lender as well as the borrower. Government is kind of backing these loans. So this is one loan that we've been able to offer out. There's been a pot of money, and if you remember when the first wave of the money came out, they talked a lot about the funds ran out. We need more money. Well, a lot of the big boys got a hold of that money, and I think it discouraged a lot of small businesses from even trying. It came out so fast. There was so much information. We were drinking from water hoses, and we trying to keep up. I mean, even now, day to day, we're still getting new information from Congress and the government about the repayment portion of this.
Okay.
But where we're at now is a person who has a business can apply for this payroll protection loan. And what they would do, and I can kind of show you on my screen if you want me to go ahead and share that application.
Yeah, sure.
Can we hold off just for a second and then we'll go through that in just a second?
Yeah, but it's really what it does is a person can provide their payroll information from 2019 to us as Notre Dame Credit Union. There's a few other lenders in the area that are offering PPP. But we would take that, gather some of your financials from your payroll, underwrite the loan, and then you have it funded in the account. Now, if you're a member of Notre Dame, it's a little bit smoother process because we already have that relationship with you. If you're not, we would just establish a basic business account with you, ask for some basic business documentation along with that financial stuff. Once we get that all gathered up, we submit it to the SBA. They provide a SBA number. And what most people don't know necessarily is once we get that SBA number, then that guarantees that we're going to get what you need. It secures those funds for you. Now it's on us as a credit union or bank to get the documentation from internal as that organization to get you to sign on that loan, and then we fund those into your account.
Yes.
As far as the tracking piece of it and what people really want to use it for, the unknown is you've been hearing a lot. Well, it's just for payroll. Can I use it for rent? Can I use it for this? Can I use it for that? Mm-hmm. Some very specific details there that I would, if you had questions about that, I'd love to talk to you about your specific situation because it depends on, your business model. How's this functioning? What are you using it for? The tracking piece. So if you had questions about that, I'd love to talk specifically. But it's a fairly smooth process once we get started. It's just documentation. Yeah.
I just want to make sure our local minority business owners get part of that 1.75 billion that was just approved here, right? May. A lot of our businesses left out on that money. It seems like that's a lot of money, and we should be able to, prosper and get some of that funding to keep our businesses growing in the area. That's a major concern.
Hey, touching base on Brightpoint. Brightpoint has also pulled together a new banking product. Is that right, Tracy?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that banking product came about? We'll get some more details as to actually how someone can kind of apply. But yeah, can you tell us how this banking product came about?
Yes. So Brightpoint Development Fund is an affiliate, approved affiliate for SBA.
Okay.
So we administer federal dollars, and we do it through the microloan program. In the past, we've offered microloans for as much as $50,000, but now we actually created a specialized COVID-19 express loan, which would provide capital at $20,000 or less, a streamlined process, no upfront cost, and then the value added portion is that the SBA will pay the first 6 months of the loan on behalf of the borrower. There are additional deferment options available, but that's kind of the added benefit. And again, unprecedentedly, I've never seen a subsidized business loan.
That was a very creative use of unprecedented. You really have been using that word a lot.
I told you it's the most I've heard it.
That's pretty good, honestly. So Larry, you want to jump back in there about some of these distinctions between these lending products?
Yeah. So as a CDFI with Brightpoint, and then you got a PPP with Notre Dame Credit Union. So what are the distinct differences between the two? We can start with you, Quentin, and then we'll move on to you, Tracy. Can you tell me a little bit about the PPP and any differences between the two?
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things that I just heard Tracy hit on is that payment portion. With the PPP up front, we don't have that option on our side of the house. Right now, we're going through the process with the government on the forgiveness portion of the PPP. So as I'm gathering those details day to day, it's really going to be at that point I have to get with business owners and let them know this is what you need to provide me for this loan to be forgiven, and then it goes through the audit process. So that would probably be one of the biggest things. Again, these are streamlined dollars from the government. We get them coming in, and we're able to facilitate them, but we don't have that option up front, for that first 6 months. So that may be one big difference.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Antonius.
I was just going to say, and Tracy and Quentin, you can jump back in after Tracy, but how is this different from how Brightpoint would traditionally issue a loan, right? Like how is this experience different than the traditional considerations that are made to see if a business will qualify for lending from a community development financial institution like Brightpoint?
First, I would say, given the climate right now, the underwriting process is much different at this time. Real
quick, what's underwriting, by the way? Because I don't think that I know.
Is the process of reviewing all of the documents, financials, business profile submitted by an applicant to assess for their capability to repay and approval for any business capital. It can be a very detailed process. It's likened to applying for a mortgage loan or things of that sort. We're typically combing through business financials, personal credit history, and at this time, we've created in-house more relaxed criteria. Let me give you an example. For some of our traditional loan products, we may require that an individual could not have a bankruptcy within the past 6 months. Well, given this COVID-19 the past year. Well, given this COVID-19 situation, we kind of reduced that down and said, well, maybe it could be the last 6 months, or we understand that around about February is when it really hit hard. So we understand that there may be some non-sufficient funds, fees that we see on your bank accounts, or your credit cards might be maxed out and over leveraged. Just because that kind of is reflective of where the economy was at that time. So that's kind of a detailed difference in the underwriting practice and just kind of our approach at this time, given the need.
while we're touching on this, because I'm about to come to Quentin and ask him to kind of just walk us through the application process for the PPP program. But can you tell folks a little bit more about what a community development financial institution is? Particularly, one of the things that is most interesting and most different from a traditional kind of lender is that you guys have the capacity to kind of step in where a retail bank might not be able to provide that financing in order to help a community to kind of improve itself. And the one product that if you can kind of talk about, or just the consideration, that the way that you guys consider is the pitching character loan that can sometimes be available to businesses. And if that's not something that's available through BrightPoint, I can kind of come back and share a little bit about what I've heard about the pitching character loan. But just ultimately, what's the gap that a CDFI fills in the financing industry?
Tracy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Tracy, could you explain more about the CDFI and traditionally, and what does it offer in the community employers?
Well, absolutely. So I like to always pitch it that we are a mission lender. We're a nonprofit organization, and it's our job to assist families, individuals, and small businesses who lack access to traditional lending products. We do that in many ways. It's not a no and go down the street and talk to someone else. It's typically, how can we help you? How can you become bankable? Even if your original loan request might have been $20,000, well, how can we start with $3,000?
Okay.
And kind of build and build up to that $20,000 mark. What I like to say, all of our clients, by the time they are complete with a CDFI like BrightPoint, should be able to walk into any bank possible and do business.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Quentin, if you would like, can you kind of tell us a little bit about the first steps a business owner might go through the PPP program, and if you can, maybe even tag on what the next steps are for those businesses who might have already gotten their SBA or made their SBA contact, or even gotten their SBA guarantee. So, but yeah, let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah, no problem. And just to kind of touch base and piggyback off of what we were talking about prior to this point, the difference also with our PPP when it comes to what Tracy was talking about with the underwriting is definitely a little bit different than for us as well, because it doesn't require, like he was talking about, that credit background. We don't go into like a normal traditional loan. This is based, most of this is based on the financials you submit for the 2019 year payroll. So I want to show everybody real quick kind of how we would start with the PPP packet. So let me get this pulled up for everybody. All right. Can everybody see my screen okay?
It's getting ready to, there it is. Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So what I have here is a basic payroll protection program checklist that we function by here at the credit union. As you can see, step one, number one, is the application. We're getting ready to go through that portion here. If you decide to choose Notre Dame to do PPP, or you won't have more questions for me before you decide to apply, definitely we'll go through this in detail. The second page, after we go through this application, I'm going to show everybody this average payroll worksheet, which is showing you what we require for the documentation for your payroll. And then I also provide you guys this link here. We'll get that to the team if you want to apply for the loan. But it's a very basic application. So when people looking to apply for this loan, it's really 2 pages for the SBA that you have to complete. The first portion really is just taking a look at identifying what kind of business you are, your legal name, address, contact information. The second portion, and probably the most important piece, is this middle section right here. The average monthly payroll, the next calculation that you make that equates your loan request, and then the number of employees. This is kind of This is probably the most important piece because there's a consistency piece in the PPP that we have to present back for the repayment portion. And again,
is there any? I was gonna say, is there any? Because this can be kind of difficult for a business owner who maybe uses an accountant or maybe uses something that's like QuickBooks or something. Is there any kind of like workaround that allows for them to kind of figure out this monthly payroll that Notre Dame can help with?
Yeah, I have a worksheet that I want to walk everybody through to help calculate this.
Okay.
I've been also encouraging people to get with their CPA, anybody they do their financials with, bookkeeper, to fill this out because they can help you calculate those numbers properly based on what you guys have put together for the business.
Okay.
And then down here, as you can see, purpose for the loan. So you see payroll there, lease, mortgage, interest, utilities, other expenses. So most people are kind of in that question, like, can I use it for other stuff? Can I just put it in reserve? Can I do this? Can I do that? It's really kind of a fine line with that because we have to be able to justify what we use the funds for in the end when it comes to the forgiveness portion. So when you check this, what I've been telling people is just keep as many notes and receipts and things like that you can, just to help you out in the end, because it'll make it easier for you when it comes for forgiveness. And again, those details are still coming out. We don't have a final ruling on what's going to be forgiven, how to calculate what will be forgiven, so on and so forth. The next portion of this is just really a lot of yes and no questions that the applicant will have to go through. There's a little bit of information here. And again, I'll specifically go through this with anybody that's looking to apply for the PPP. Down here at the bottom, what Notre Dame has created is kind of an Excel sheet. This is to help you calculate your average monthly expenses. So let's say salary, I'm just going to do some arbitrary numbers just to show you how this is easily plug in some numbers and it'll calculate it for you. So let's just use 15,000 there. We'll use 5,000. I'll just throw in some numbers here.
Good. Auto-populate.
So to auto-populate. So the number that we would go on in that, and when we get to that first page again, the total average monthly cost will be $25.17 that you would put in that first box. Your loan requested amount will be this, 2.5. The first portion of this was like a 2.5, 8-week kind of coverage. So that's what that is based off. And that helps you calculate and get that information onto the application. And again, if you have questions on that, the first person that I would recommend you talk to, your bookkeeper, your CPA, anybody that does your finance. The second, am I still sharing, or did I close it out? Okay,
no, you closed out.
I closed up.
Yes.
Okay, let me jump back real quick. The second portion that I will show everybody would be this document here. These are some of the documents that you can provide that we can verify that payroll on. So, your 940s, 941s, if you have W-2s, things like that. And again, you can ask your CPA or tax professional to provide those to you unless you have them already ready and available.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Quentin, I've asked this question a couple of times to a couple of different lenders. With Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's PPP program, if a business owner does not yet have an EIN because they've been operating their business as a sole proprietorship and filing all of their business income on their Schedule C of their taxes, again, hopefully that's not too jargony for everybody, but yeah, if a business owner does not yet have an EIN because they've been logging and they might have been doing a very accurate job at keeping track of their business expenses and income, does Notre Dame have the capacity to pull information off of the Schedule C so that we can still see kind of cost of a business?
We should be able to. I would say yes. I've had some people that function like that as sole proprietors and have applied as sole proprietors, and they've been able to award PPP loans. So we're able to, I've seen 1099s come in, I've seen tax returns, I've seen 940s, 941s, anything that can justify that payroll. I take it as the person collecting information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my loan team, and they run it. And if they say we can use it, we use it. If not, we just request something different. So if that's all you have, I would definitely say apply, submit that, and attempt it. Because right now I've seen people that are sole proprietors get funding.
Yeah, that's I have to applaud you for that, and I'm really appreciative of you guys being kind of the stewards of this PPP program. because that is so important that these lending
Yeah.
products be available to our small business community and be tailored towards those folks who have the highest amount of need. Tracy, is there some similar dynamics with Brightpoint when it comes to being able to have access to your lending product if you happen to not be an EIN holder, but you are kind of tracking your business finances? I mean, you guys are a CD5, so you guys probably been down this road for quite some time.
Absolutely. We're in a unique position because we're a part of a small community that actually provides funding to true startups.
Mhm.
You can be 0 days in business and still receive business funding from us. Now, it may look a little different. We may help you with a business pitch deck and walk through some technical assistance, counseling and such training with you, but it does not require previous accounts or things of that sort.
Man, I can't wait to ask you some more questions about some of those wraparound services.
Yes.
Quentin,
Quinn, I have a question for Quinn.
Yeah, I was going to say, go right ahead, Larry.
Yeah, after the small business complete the application, for the PPP with Notre Dame, what is the typical turnaround time for receive callback or someone from your staff for the process next? What is the turnaround?
Awesome question. So if anybody's listening to this, or you know somebody that is still interested or has questions about it, I'll get my contact information out there and we can do those things. But as far as once we get you, the first step will be go to that website, and I'll have to provide that as well. We go to the website, submit your information there. From there, you would be assigned to a processor or somebody who's running your application. So for this platform, I will be that person. To take on the information. So I will be the one, once you submit the information on the website, then I will reach out to you, gather the documentation, the application, supporting financials, and send that to our loan team. Typically, we've been seeing turnarounds happen with, I would say, between 2 to 4 days.
2 to 4 days.
It depends on that relationship, though. So if you have a business relationship with us already, we have your account already established. It's really just pushing the application through. If we have to establish a business account, qualify you for membership, that takes a little bit longer. So the turnaround could be a little bit longer.
That's awesome, man, because, you got some lending institutions that, may not want to work with you because, hey, you're not a member of, of our credit union, you're not a member of our bank, and we'll get back with you, in a week or two. And therefore, I like, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union because you guys are willing to work with anyone, in the community. So that shows how, diverse you guys are in working with the talent in the community. That's wonderful.
Definitely. We can help out. I mean, there's a way for us to qualify you for membership. And I think a lot of just for Notre Dame, a lot of people thought you had to be University of Notre Dame. Over the past 5 years since I've been there, we've definitely tried to turn that around and welcome a lot more people in the community. So definitely trying to open those doors for everybody.
Good. Awesome.
Quentin, do you want to touch on what happens after that application is complete, and kind of what business owners do with the next steps as they are either moving ahead after they've gotten their SBA guarantee or the time in between them getting their SBA guarantee?
Yeah, so once we submit the application, we get the guarantee. At that point, internally with Notre Dame, our process is to get the documentation to you. We do that electronically. So everything we've been doing has been electronically e-sign. We send it securely to your email. You're able to, after you sign, download those documents and have them for your records. But then once we get those documents back, they go through an audit, make sure we have all of our T's and I's taken care of, and then we fund that account. Now, once that account is funded, if you want to keep the funds in Notre Dame, you can do that. We also have different options to get to you and help you get those funds to your current business account if you don't have Notre Dame as your primary institution. So we're not asking people to bring over your business account if you choose. We're willing to work with you, and we have services in place, but we're not asking people, hey, in order to get this, you got to cancel your whole service and with your primary institution to come over to us. So if it's just PPP that you need right now to help you stay afloat, let's talk. And then you can decide if you want to come over to us. But after that, we get it funded into either the Notre Dame account or to your business account. From there, you utilize the funds. And like I said, right now, everybody's waiting to hear the final judgment on the forgiveness of the PPP. Yes. So what we're doing is once we get those final details from SBA, we're reaching out to every applicant to make sure they have that information on what they need to submit and how to process and proceed forward.
So good. So you make the process and the transition very smooth for businesses to work with. You know, I'll feel comfortable with calling the Quentin Phillips, like, man, you make this so easy, 2 to 4 days turnaround time, man, and I'm back in business. So yeah, your name is high on the radar. Speak to Quentin Phillips. Get you going.
Don't forget about my man Tracy up there at the top now, man.
Tracy, good next. Tracy, so we'll get to you, Tracy, at Brightpoint. So tell me some of your first steps, the next steps, and your guidelines as far as you working with the business community and the coaching assistance that you provide.
So it's funny how you say he's like the first consideration, because 2 days, that's a little too quick for me.
I heard that 2 to 4 days. I'm like, wow, that's pretty quick turnaround right there.
Not saying that we can't, but
Yes.
I know I speak for the entire lending community and Quentin as well.
Yeah.
That when we talk about timeline, there's a difference between understanding what a completed application is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really starts there first.
Yeah.
Once I have a completed application, we like to take about 2 weeks for you to be able to receive funding in hand. But mainly because we're also looking at those wraparound services. We have an internal layer of board approval as well. So every request goes through the board, and we like it that way because it helps with more qualified people seeing this business. And we have a lot of lifestyle businesses that we help to fund.
Yes.
And we have lifestyle board members. So there's some cases that they reach out to our business owners directly and just kind of offer assistance as well. So for us, it's a 2-week turnaround process, but I can't emphasize enough that we spend quite a bit of time what we call pre-technical assistance, and making sure that business owner truly understands their own financials. We're doing a lot of coaching up front before we put the cash in hands.
Yeah, that's very important. And kind of, can you walk us through what that process looks like from application into that consideration window and then that money on the other side? Just what are some of the like milestones as folks are moving through your lending process?
So our loan officers will be in touch with you regarding completing your application. Once you've completed an application, then the loan officer will notify you of next steps. They will also begin to work with you on what I said before, pre-assessment at that time. So if you need to establish your business articles or filings with the state, if you need to set up a business bank account because you previously didn't have it, that's when we'll begin to work with you at that time while your request is being underwritten. Once your request is underwritten, if they come back with any questions, the loan officer will work with you on that. Again, we're all talking about federal dollars, so paperwork is the most important thing here. So we're building that file, and we're building it with integrity. We want to make it credible, so we're adding extra layers. Sometimes if we find any hiccups on your credit report, we're just kind of getting an explanation on file and a plan to address them. We're also putting you in contact with any additional outside help that you may need. And just kind of taking a look at your business operations. From that point, we send it off to our board. They have 24 hours to approve.
24 hours,
So it's a 24-hour process. And then once they approve, closing in our office happens. Someone different from our office will reach out to you. At this time, you can sign electronically. Now, down the line, it may require that you come in and sign maybe just a few documents with blue ink. That's federally required. Blue ink,
not black.
Signatures. But due to COVID and social distancing, that's not a requirement at this time. Everything that we have can be done electronically. Most people No matter how social distancing there is, they don't mind stopping in to simply pick up the check.
Yes, yes.
They'll do the
That
entire
won't ever
process
change, Tracy. That won't ever change.
So that's so important. We had a guest on a couple of days ago to emphasize how important for the Black businesses to have their paperwork in order, right? And you've got someone to walk them along to make sure they have documentation. That may delay, you know what I mean, your earnings, approval and everything. So you emphasize that, and I think that's good for our listeners and our viewers to hear from a professional, NDFI, NDCFI, how important that is. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I think that we're getting close to the end of our broadcast. So I wanted to kind of, connect with you guys again and kind of have you guys reiterate how important financing is to both business sustainability, but also business growth. And one of those things that really highlights that again is what BrightPoint is doing with the wraparound services that they offer. I think also with the Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, they're also going to have a strong sense of what demand looks like inside of their kind of economic footprint or the economic footprint of a lender. But particularly with the BrightPoint, where they're trying to make sure that they are able to go out and make loans, but also have their loans repaid. You guys are taking that extra step to make sure that you know what's happening inside of the areas that your borrowers are working in. Can you tell us a little bit more about both the wraparound services and kind of what the advantage is of working with a BrightPoint or just a CDFI in general when it comes to having help at the end of the day to navigate this business market? So yeah, Tracy, if you would.
Okay. I'll definitely answer that. Be sure to let me know when I could share my screen, just so anybody that's on the call who needs to see exactly how to apply for us, it's kind of easy that way too. And I know we can
do that now. Actually, we can go for that. Now. Go for that right now.
Time to do that now, if you would like.
Okay. So here's a look at our website. Can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. When you go to our website, the banner at the top in red, you can click it. And it's pretty much going to bring you to this landing page, a little bit of information about the quick, no cost upfront, streamlined approach to receiving funding, how to apply. These are the 4 documents that we've created. They are fillable. You can download them and they'll walk you through. There's explanations on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the additional documents that we would need from anyone interested, and all can be submitted at this secure upload. That way it protects all of your information.
Okay.
I've shared on the comment section a way to get in touch with us. It's also on this website, highlighted right here. If you just have questions, or if you're maybe not sure, or you need a little bit more help before making the jump, just reach out to this point of contact and we will be able to assist you.
Okay.
And then I will bring it back. Okay, so just to address the wraparound services, it's honestly the most exciting part about what BrightPoint BDF has to offer. When you talk about making a difference in the community, CDFIs like ourselves are able to do some things. BrightPoint specifically has a set aside amount of money that we received from SBA to provide wraparound services.
Mm-hmm.
One great example of it is that a lot of times we encounter the entrepreneur who got started a year ago, has continued to see a lot of traction, and they don't necessarily know how to manage the back office side of running a business. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about accounting and things of that sort. Well, we already have a supply of QuickBooks on hand to give freely to any of our borrowers. As long as you're an approved borrower, we can give you QuickBooks, and that way you can have an accounting system to manage yourself. Additionally, we will pay for certain costs. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
We like to kind of get into the weeds of what you have going on so we can identify what will best serve your business. I can, some examples most recently would be we funded by pitch decks being created for individuals who were already in business. That's actually important because a lot of times, let's say if you have an apparel company and you're kind of selling a brand in t-shirts, well, we need to make sure that brand wraps around from your website to your social media content, your marketing. So creating that pitch deck is kind of dual, where it gives you the elevator pitch and allows you to be more direct with pitching your business, but it also pretty much provides that brand awareness that you can begin to kind of chop up and use in different areas. So that's one example of, you don't have to sit around at home trying to create a 20-page document just to say this is my business plan. You can get started with us, and that's something that we can contract, hire someone else, fund the economy, keep the dollars circulating, and then keep you moving forward in your business as well.
At this time, I want to kind of allow for you guys to pull together some closing remarks. And if I could kind of steer just a bit, I want to make sure that you guys are sharing with the small business community, as well as just businesses in general, that this is a process that is both mutually beneficial to the lending institution as well as the business. And that, but it's not a mystical thing, and it's not something that you should necessarily approach with a great deal of trepidation or fear. It's something that that you can use to really unlock the potential of your business. And if you could, Tracy, kind of just share with the folks the recap of services that BrightPoint offers, and also just the benefits of finance.
So BrightPoint is here and ready to help you gain access to the financial capital that you need to grow your business, and really just to become better individuals and establish a better economic platform for not only yourself, but also your business. And it's something that will help the community as well. We do that by way of offering coaching, by way of offering small business products, like loans, and we have quite a few different ones that may fit your needs. But the best part is there's so many different loan products out there that we're willing to help you identify what's best. If we're not the correct avenue, we can point you in the right direction. Speaking broadly, as I close my comment, at this time, it's just an large opportunity for small business owners right now. And what I would say to anyone, especially people of color, people who have lacked access because of financial issues, this is a time of self-actualization again in our nation. This is a time where your dreams can become a reality, and it's actually needed because it's the way that our economy will rebuild. So in light, I'll say sometimes the only way to get wet is to just jump in the pool. So just give it a try. That fear, if your goals don't scare you, then they aren't big enough. And there's not a business that has started without risk. That's where I like to end that.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you guys for all the work that BrightPoint is doing. Quentin, you want to kind of bring it home to our to the good old 574 and share with the community kind of what Notre Dame has in the way of services for businesses, and also what you guys have been doing in order to demystify and bring access to community members, as well as kind of just wrapping in one more pitch about the PPP program, if you can.
Right. Well, thank you for having me on the platform. I will say that our whole focus at Notre Dame Credit Union, whether it be on the consumer side of business or commercial side, is to change a life a day. So if we can get with one person, sit them down, look at their financial history, look at where they were, where they are, and where they want to go, and help them move forward in that in a positive light, Maybe not today, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, but we would definitely want to help change your life in a positive.
Yes.
So if we can sit a person down on the consumer side and do a financial review, or if we can sit a business owner down, look at your finances, look at your portfolio and see how things are and how we can move you forward, we're willing to do that.
Yes.
As a community, I guess you could say a community bank, a credit union here in the South Bend area local, we pride ourselves on taking care of the community. We've been working hard to stay connected, to do the right thing, to be present in the community in a positive way, not just necessarily asking you to bring a loan over, but really just talking to you as a human being and seeing where your finances are at and how we can better that. As far as PPP, it's really nothing to be afraid of. It's just a little bit of education you got to do for yourself and see if it benefits you. PPP may not be the one for you and your business, but it may be. So that's just sitting down and having the conversation with the lender to see if it works for you and your business. I put my information just like Tracy did over in the comment section. So if you have questions, want to just talk, through some things, let's do it. Mm-hmm. I'm open, so I just want to encourage everybody, stay positive, keep smiling, and we'll get through this together.
Yes.
Just at the very end of this program, I'd like to make sure that I get you guys' contact information back up on the screen. But before that, Larry, do you have any more remarks that you want to share with our guests?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to both our guests, Quentin Phillips and Tracy Williams. The information was very impactful for our business communities and individuals like myself. I learned a lot about, the transition, the application process, and it's valuable, to our community. So I just want to say thank you. And, I really respect you guys coming on and taking your time out of your busy day and joining us on our webinar. And I wish you guys both success and, reaching out to our community. I know Bright Point is navigated over here to South Bend, the 574 area code as well. And Quentin, you're here locally serving our clients on a daily basis. So just want to say another thank you. And thank you for being a part of our webinar.
And for those folks, so Tracy, if you want to go ahead and put some contact information up, and then Quentin, if you want to follow him, that'd be great. And I'll try to close this out if I can. This is a very unique moment in South Bend's diversity and inclusion programming. Being able to provide access to these lending institutions who can really help our small business community and our minority and women and veteran-owned businesses to connect to finance is so important to the survival, to the quality of life for our residents and the citizens of our community. As we have seen with the emergence of COVID-19, the folks that are hardest hit are the folks who don't have access to medical care. The folks that are hardest hit are the folks who are at the lowest rungs of the socioeconomic ladder. And as we connect with financial institutions and as we connect businesses with financial institutions, we provide access to a different quality of life. And if we can make sure that our residents have that, we're now, I think, starting to level the playing field and create an equitable future for all of the residents of our community. That being said, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope that you were empowered and impacted by the information shared in today's webinar session. Again, I want to thank Michael Patton, the City of South Bend's Diversity and Inclusion Officer. I'd like to thank my colleague, Larry King, who is the Contract Compliance Administrator for the City of South Bend. I want to thank Tracy Williams for all of the time that he spent with us this morning. Also thanking Quentin Phillips for his time. And with that being said, we hope for you guys to join us on Tuesday at 11 a.m. And you guys should receive the email very soon, but Tuesday at 11 a.m. To talk about the new and emerging businesses amid COVID-19. Our two guests will be Aaron Vernon of Tech 10 and also Kay Farlow from Empowerment of the Empowerment Center here in South Bend, Indiana. But that being said, folks, thank you for your time, and I hope you guys enjoyed the content.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Yes.